Pedic base. There's one, something that we started talking about. I'll get back to, but I just want to point out an interesting thing over here. If you look in Halacha Aleph, at the end it says, it says, Asher Heichen b'mokum David v'goyren Arnon ha'Yevusi. Right? And if you look at page base, it says that this is the place Ushleima HaMizbeach b'goyren Aravno. It's two different names. Now, I looked it up. I was curious. Why one time did it say Arna, one time Aravno?
The second Aleph is Ara.
And I looked it up, and in Shmuel Beis, at the end of Shmuel Beis, where it talks about David did a mistake by counting the Yidden, and there was a Magefa. So it says over there that Nosson HaNovi came to him and told him that he should make a Mizbeach by Aravno, Goyren Aravno. And over there in Shmuel, there's a Mincha Shai that's very careful about every letter. So he mentioned over there that there's a question if it's Aravno or Roino. Another way you put the Vav. And then I looked up in Divrei Yomim that tells you things that David did, that he was told that he's not going to build a Beis HaMikdash, everything. And it said that he bought it from Arnon. So it seems like it's the same person, but I don't know why sometimes they call him Arnon, that I don't know. Now yesterday we discussed the question. The question was that the Rambam talks about the importance of the place, and he talks about the precise place of the Mizbeach, and he said that this is the place where Avraham did the Akedah, and he also mentions Adam, and he mentions Cain and Hevel. So I asked yesterday the question, it sounds strange. He should have said that this is the place where Adam and Cain and Hevel, and also Avraham, not this way. So there's I found a tshuva in Chassam Sofer that the Chassam Sofer says, not exactly the question I'm asking, but the same idea. Why the Rambam mention what's the difference between Avram? It seems that we're giving Avram credit for it, not Adam. Why are we giving credit to Avram and not Adam? So he wants to say over there that Adam and Cain and Hevel had no tziva from Hashem to make a mizbeach. It wasn't, Hashem didn't tell Adam, go make a mizbeach in this place. The only one that was told to make a mizbeach, and he had to look for where the place was Avram. So he's saying that Adam made a mizbeach b'nevuah. He knew b'nevuah that where's going to be eventually the Beis HaMikdash. Same thing, Cain and Hevel also knew b'nevuah where eventually is going to be the Beis HaMikdash, and they went to that place to do a korban. Avram didn't know where the place is. Avram gives a whole bunch of, and then it says, after going 3 days, he saw the place. And what did he do when he came there? He didn't only make a kolb over there. He was mekadosh the place. Mekadosh the place means what he says in davening by the Akedah. It says over here. It says, Vayikra Avram Shem Amakmahu Hashem Yireh. He gave it the name, and he said that Shayom B'Hariyam Yirah, that for all daughters, this will be what. So come to us that the one who was Megala and was Mekadesh this place was Avram. And why did Avram Taka do it? Because that's what the Eivisha selected. It's not that Avram selected a place knowing that Avram found the place that the Eivisha selected. So the Rebbe says that's why it's called Beis HaBechira. We don't call it Hilchos Beis HaMikdash. We call it Hilchos Beis HaBechira. In other words, it's a place that the Eivisha selected. Just Avram was Mekadesh, the place L'Doides, so therefore that explains why he mentions Taka Adam, he mentions Cain, but he doesn't give them credit that we have the Beis the Mizbeh because of them. Avram, he went to the place where the Eibush told him to go, and he was Mekadesh that place, L'Doides, so that's why. And why? Because it's the Asher Yivcha Hashem. It's a place that Hashem selected. Okay.
And so, with other by Cain, the Eivisha didn't select it.
They were great people, but
Eivisha didn't.
Then they made a call. They knew that this is the place. There's a medrash, I once spoke about it in Kippur Drosha, Shabbos Shuvah Drosha, that Adam met Cain, and he asked him, "Ma nasa b'dincha? What's happening with your case?" So Cain said, "Osisi tshuva v'nis b'shafti." I worked it out with the Eibush, I made tshuva. So Adam said, "Mizvah shil yom haShabbos," and the word haShabbos spells the word tshuva. Yeah, so they had their inyonim, what they did. I mean, okay, now we will continue. So now that we know about the importance of the place, we know the history of the place, so to say. So now we're going to go to talk a little bit about the place itself. It says as you look in Gimel, Midas HaMizbeach, the sizes or the dimensions of the Mizbeach, Mechuvonos Haber. Mechuvonos means that they're very exact. It's not approximately, it's exact. V'tzurosai yidua, ish me'ish. And the way it has to look. So it's a thing that we've given over from generation to generation, the way it has to look. Umizbeach shabonu b'nei hagoyla. The Mizbeach, B'nai HaGoyla means the second Beis HaMikdash. In other words, that was Ezra. It calls it B'nai HaGoyla because 70 years before they went into Golus. So Ezra brought the Jews back from Golus back to Eretz Yisrael, from Babel to Eretz Yisrael. So he says, the Mizbeach Shabonu B'nai HaGoyla, the Mizbeach that the people of the exile built by the second Beis HaMikdash, Ke'ein Mizbeach. Did I skip something?
No, you're good.
Ke'ein Mizbeach she'asad libonis asur. They made it like the Beis HaMikdash that's going to be built in the days of Mashiach. In other words, that comes from Tanakh, from Yechezkel. Ve'ein lehoisef al midasai, ve'ein legroya mimenum. You can't make any change. You can't make it bigger, you can't make it smaller. Now, why does the Rambam have to add you can't make it bigger, can't make it smaller? Because we will learn later that the Bayis Rishon was similar to the Mizbeach that Moshe made, but it was not the same size. It had a lot of similarity, but they extended it a little bit. So that's why he's saying that when they built the Bayis Rishon, it was permissible. But after that, it's not permissible to make any change in the size.
I mean, because by a solution they had nothing what to copy from.
Well, they had the Mishkan. Zot weiter. Now, how did they know how to do things? They came back 70 years. It means that most of the people, all the people that went into Golos, it was a new generation. So how do they know how to do this? Not. I once heard that in Lubavitch, in Rostov, the Rebbe Rashab was in Lubavitch, and then later, I think he had to run away from there. He ended up in Rostov, and Rostov they made the mikveh. So the famous mikveh that Lubavitch makes all over the world, the mikveh, Gabi mikveh, not just a bird on the side, but a little mikveh under a mikveh, was in Rostov. And when they came there, then later, by the Friedrich Rebbe wasn't in Russia. Friedrich Rebbe had to flee Russia. He went to Riga, then he went to Russia, then kept America. So it was many years, and they knew there was living in Eretz Rabbi Landau, Rabbi Yankov Landau. That's the grandfather of the current Landau. That he was one of the Bochum that time, that the Rebbe Rashab discussed with him the mikveh, and there's a letter from him about details about the mikveh. But when they came to Rostov now, let's say 20 years, I shouldn't say 20 years ago, in the time of the Rebbe, let's say 40 years ago when they came to, so they went into the building, they had to find the mikveh. And fortunately, there was Chitrik, the old man Chitrik, the beautiful Chitrik, he was still around from the Rebbe Rashab. There was no Hasidim left. So he told them things, where they're going to find, what they're going to find. And it all turned out correct, but they had someone, so the question is, over here when Ezra had to build the Beis HaMikdash, who knew what to do and how to do? So he says over here, the next halacha, Ushroisha Neviim Ol Imoim Min HaGoyla. There were still old Neviim that were in Golos, and they went back when Ezra went back. Not everybody went back with Ezra. We went to Masechta Tainis that the Kahanim didn't go back, and he counseled the Kahanim that they didn't get, that they gave Truma to the Leviim. We learned about it at the end of Masechta Saita. So he's saying, however, Ushloisha Neviim Oli More Min HaGoyla. There were three that Chagai, Nechemia, and the three, huh?
Chagai is Chadi Malachi.
Yeah. And Echad, and one of these three Nevi'im, Heyed Rohem Al Mokam HaMizbeach, he was the one that told them exactly what the Mizbeach is. The Echad Heyed Rohem Al Midaisov, one remembered the dimensions of the Mizbeach. The Echad Heyed Rohem Shemakriven Al Mizbeach Hazeh Kolak Abonis Apa Pishen Shom Bayis. Even before they had a Beis HaMikdash, as soon as they made a Mizbeach, so I said, they're all kabbanas. What does it mean, all kabbanas? Because they had all the years, they had a bomber. A bomber was a stone or something, a little thing, a little construction. But not all kind of kabbanas could you bring on a bomber. There's only certain things. So it says, hey Abraham, that you could be makir all kabbanas in this place. Because this is the place of the Mizbeach, of the Beis Hamikdash. So he says it goes on further now. In hey, Mizbeach she'osa Moshe, the Mizbeach that Moshe made, v'she'osa Shlomo, that Shlomo made in the Bayis station, v'she'osa b'nei Agoyla, and what the people that came back on Ezra in the Bayis Sheni made, v'she'osa re'osais, and will be made in the future when Mashiach comes. Kulam esa amos gaiva. They all have a height of 10 amos. Kol echad, each one. Fact the Rambam Akasha, v'zeh ha'kosav b'Torah. What's written in the Torah, Shalosh amos k'mosai. So here I'm telling you it's 10 amos, and the Torah said 3 amos. And for the Rambam, Mokaim Hamaracha Bilvad. That means that there were different compartments, one on top of the other. The truth is, if you measure from the floor all the way till the top of the Koronos, on the top there was a place where they marked the Kabbanas, and on each corner there's a little box over there. That's called a keren. So if you measure from the floor till the top, it's 10 amos. But the top section, there was a base, and there was like a box on top of it, and another box. So the final box was short. That was the Mizbeach. Because why is that called the Mizbeach? Because on that they were marked with the korban. The truth is they were. You didn't feel it, like someone lives on a high floor. This floor's under him, Taka, but you'll say on this floor we did this and this. If you did this and this, it takes in everything, but it's not. Doesn't go into the cheshbon. That's what he's saying over here. V'shalosh amos kamosai. No, I'm sorry. V'zeh hakosav b'Torah, what says in the Torah, v'shalosh amos kamosai, mokaim hamaracha b'vad. U'mizbeach she'osa b'nei hagoyla, the mizbeach that they made in the second Beis Hamikdash, v'chein osa ribonis, and second, the one that we build is midas okay v'rachboin lamed beis al lamed beis amos, and that's not the same. If you look in the Chumash, when it talks about the mizbeach, it doesn't talk about 32 amos. So and in the first bias was also smaller, but in the second one and the future one is 32 by 32, and they're going to explain how we get that.
But you said before that.
Now, when he says 32 by 32, that's the base. As it keeps going up higher, it was like a pyramid. So as it keeps going, it gets up, but the base was 32 by 32. What did you say?
You said before that you're not supposed to change the mizbeach. It needs to be 100%.
We're not.
Here he says.
We just said that we're not supposed to change, but by Shlomo they had to build the first Beis Hamikdash, so they built it different than in the Mishkan. He says clearly the words that it says clear that it's only that one. Now, the Rambam is giving you another rule. Now, Amma, when we talk about Amma, Amma means this part is called Amma. The arm is called Amma. But like when you say in English, you say something's a foot. What's a foot? A foot is 12 inches, right? Now, the question is, how much is an inch? Supposing, let's say, if you say that there's a bigger amount of pieces in an inch, so a foot is longer. If you say that there's less amount of pieces in an inch, so an amma is smaller. So now the question is, how did we measure the amma? So therefore, the Rambam says now in the next halacha, he says it's part Yud Amos shall gaiv HaMizbeach. What we said that the Mizbeach was 10 Amos high. Mehem be'ama bas heit tvachim, umehem be'ama bas shisha tvachim. They had two rulers. One ruler was a longer ruler, and one ruler was a shorter one. In one ruler, there was 5 tvachim in the amma, and in one ruler there was 10 tvachim in the amma. It's going to be a difference later, because you'll see later that it comes out in the measurements.
How do you build a building like that?
Huh?
How do you build a building with one ruler is bigger and one ruler is smaller? It's going to look one is going to look big and one is going to look small. How do they build a building like that?
I don't understand you. We're building a box, right?
Yeah.
First we build a box. The box, you take a ruler, and according to that ruler, you have the wood or the stone of the box, right? Now on this box, we're building another box. And the other box, we're going to measure with a different ruler. That's how it comes out.
Okay, sir.
So that's why he says that the Yud Amos Shagayv HaMizbeach, what we say that how much, till I started learning this halacha, right? If I ask you a question, we learned that the Mizbeach is 10 Amos high, could you tell me how many tvachim it is? So I say, what kind of question is that? We know that there's X amount of tvachim in an amma, and you times it by 10, so you know how many tvachim there is. So the Rambam, no, don't do that, because you should know that there's two rulers. There's one ruler that an amma is 5 tvachim, one ruler is 10 tvachim. And so you have to know which ruler they used when they built it. That's what it goes on to say. Yud Amos Shogoiba HaMizbeach, the 10 Amos of the height of the Mizbeach, Mehem, from then among them was Ba'ama Bas Heit Tvachim, Umehen, and among them was Ba'ama Bas Shisha Tvachim. Ushako Amos Habinyan, that's only by the Mizbeach that they use two rulers. But he says everything else where they have to use measurement. So the measurement they used was Ba'ama Bas Shisha Tvachim. V'goiva Kol HaMizbeach was Nun Ches Tvachim, not 60 Tvachim. Why? Because there's a part that was measured with an amma of 5 Tvachim. Remember, so it's 2 Tvachim for some reason, which we'll soon see, 2 Tvachim short. So you take out the 2 Tvachim from the 60, so you have 58.
Sure. Thank you.